Welcome to Walker Acres. I'm Jackie.
And I'm Linda.
We are a mother-daughter duo who have decided to move on to some acres of land. And we're going to tell you why. So, this all started not as an idea from either one of us. My son and his wife had decided to buy some land, and 10 acres specifically. And they were looking for a place to move in, build their barndominium, and begin to live their simple life away from the city, the hustle and bustle of everything. So, how did me and my mother end up on land, buying land? So the process really started when I started going with my son and my daughter-in-law on their trips to look at land. They were looking for 10 acres, and I was always thinking in the back of my mind, okay, well, I can put up me a little mother-in-law house on their land and come and visit the grandkids and spend some time out in the country with them. And during that process, I believe that the Lord just laid upon my heart that, you know, you might want to consider moving with them to the land. Um, so the whole process, like I said, started with them looking at land. And I'll tell you that this whole thing, we've sold 3 houses and bought 2 travel trailers to be able to initiate this process of moving on to 14 acres of land. And it wasn't something that, like I said, my mom and I desired to do, but it came to that point. I would say it was about 7 months after my son and his wife had sold their home and moved into their travel trailer in my driveway. And I don't know what it was specifically, but I just remembering I was coming up on living in my house for 20 years, and I was just thinking about celebrating that milestone. And then the Lord just impressed upon my heart that, you know, maybe you could sell your house and move where your son and your daughter-in-law are going to be. And I thought about that for a moment. I was like, well, what would really be the reason for me to hold on to my house? Because my daughter, even though she was living in my house at that moment, she had plans to move out into an apartment again. So I was like, it would just be me. My mom lived down the road of about 10 minutes away. And I thought about if she were to move over to my house. I had a master downstairs, 3 bedrooms upstairs, and I know I really didn't want to live upstairs, and so my floor plan was not really conducive to both of us living in my home and it being a lifestyle to sustain for any length of time. So I said, well, if we were going to get a house that would accommodate both of us, then we might consider moving where my son is and putting a house on the land, and a 1-story house that could accommodate both of us. And my daughter could come out and visit because we know she didn't want to move too far away from the city. So that thought just occurred to me. And so I reached out to my mom to see if that would be something that she would want to do. And then I talked to my son to see if that would be something that they would be willing to accommodate. And that's how the process started for me to buy land and build a home on it and start a homestead. So, is your perspective from the beginning, like the whole concept of buying land, to where we are now?
Well, at first it was hard for me to conceptualize because having never ever lived in the country, the only time I can remember even visiting in the country was when I was about 6 years old, and my mom took my sister and I to visit my grandfather who lived in the country, had a farm, had hogs, and all of that stuff. And so I've not been in the rural area like since I was about 6 years old, and always been a city girl. And but when my daughter was becoming an empty nester, and she had this 4 bedroom, huge home, I was trying to convince her that maybe I needed to put me a little tiny home in her backyard. She had a huge backyard. So she did not want to give up any of her yards for me to put my little, granny house in her backyard. So when my grandson and his wife came up with the idea of, buying raw land and building a barn dominium, at first I could not conceptualize the idea, but since I did want to move closer to family, um, I jumped in on the idea of us building a family estate on one piece of land. We found the perfect property, which would allow my grandson and his family to have 10 acres, and my daughter and I to have 3 acres on the same property. I just entered into a whole new reality of us being able to establish um, something for the future generations. And I am just so excited, to embark upon this whole venture as a 4-generation group.
Yep.
Because it just gives me great pleasure to see my little great grands running around on this property in their little overalls, cute as they can be, and always talking about what they're going to do on the land. So now here we are. We're sitting in the plot where they dug out for a house.
Yeah, we're actually sitting in. See, that would be the flex room.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of sitting like in
The living room.
the living room transition to the kitchen area. So this is approximately where the kitchen island would be.
So I'm excited about sitting here in our living room that is being born and looking out over the 14 acres that we have acquired.
Yep.
And visualizing what it's going to be like once this house is built, and all the trees and things that we are going to be taking down so that we can have a great view of the pond. So this is just a great experience for me, even though this time last year I had not even conceptualized this.
Yeah, I mean, so we're in June. Mm-hmm. Today is June 22nd. Mm-hmm. And June 22nd of last year, I was just thinking about, in a couple of weeks, I will have been in my house for 20 years. So it wasn't even a thought for us at all.
No.
This time last year for us to be building a new house, being on over 14 acres of land, and being an hour and a half away from where we used to live in a country city that has less than 2,000 people in population at the last census count. So yeah, it's a very interesting process, and we're just glad to be here to share it with you. We can talk about what our plans are for our property. So, like I said, we have 3 acres of this 14-acre estate, is what we're going to call it. We were trying to figure out what we were going to call it. We were going to be Walker Estate, or we're going to be Walker Acres. Somebody mentioned the Walker Compound. Ixnay on the Compound A. Okay. So we went Walker Acres. So, but it's still an estate. And so what are we going to do with it? People are like, what are you going to do with all that land? And so we have plans, my mother and I, to grow our own garden. That was something I was starting the process of at my house. I had just cleared off a little area alongside the patio, and I was going to begin to, do me some container growing and things of that nature. But it was just the beginning. I hadn't started doing anything yet. And so now we have decided that, we want to do us some raised bed gardens. So we are going to establish our garden area just over here behind us. We will have our own personal garden. We're going to grow all sorts of vegetables and fruit. And yeah, we want to, we've already started the process of a healthier, clean eating. And so we want to really be able to support that through our own vegetables and fruit. And what we found is that, the fruit and stuff and the vegetables that we buy at the store are on their way to dying. Okay,
Yes.
the minute that they're picked, they're on their way to dying.
Right.
But the harvesting of those things sometimes start at a too early of a stage. And so by the time, and it's because they need to get to the store and be able to last on the shelf for a certain amount of time. And we just discovered through all of our research and everything that, just growing your own vegetables and fruit is so much more healthier. They're better tasting, and they're better for you. And we know where we will be growing them, the process in which we will be growing them.
Right.
We know, what kind of soils and things have been put on them, put in that environment for them to grow. So that's what we're going to do. And then we want to extend that by having in our acres over here, we want to grow like a community garden.
Right.
What all that entails, we don't have all the details just yet.
It's just
it's in the planning phases. So follow along with us on this journey so you can see where we go with that. We have a lot of bright ideas. We just gotta help those ideas come to life once we're out here and we can put our hands in the dirt.
Right.
What do you have to say about that?
Well, ironically, at the time that my daughter first approached me about joining this journey in my backyard, I had not gotten to the point of putting it in the ground, but I had 2 whole folding tables full of little tiny seedlings that I had planted. First, I had the marigold, the lavender, all of the plants that mosquitoes don't like. I had those. Then I had vegetables, little seedlings in. I think I started out with little egg cups or little tiny Dixie cups. And they had just gotten to the point that they were little tiny plants. But my daughter come to me with this idea, and I realized I had nowhere to store growing plants. So they had to be sacrificed so that we can embark on this journey and to grow a real garden.
Right.
And like we said, the details of what the community garden will entail have not yet been developed, but I can foresee us having, if not lessons, at least invites for people to come out and see what we're doing in our garden, to get the pond to a place where it can be something that we can set up, like little visits over at the pond. Like we said, all of that is right now just beginning to form in our heads, and it's not yet in detail, but stay tuned.
Yes, stay tuned
so that you can be a part.
I'm telling you, you will get to see, if you continue to watch our journey, you'll get to see us as beginner gardeners. You'll get to see us grow, and you get to learn some things as we learn, and you may even be able to teach us some stuff, because we expect for you to give us ideas, your tips and tricks on how you did this and that. And then you'll get to experience the growth of our community area and all of that. I tell you, that is something that we feel like is going to really grow and be big. And it's something that we can't wait to share with everyone. But we thank you for being here with us today as we share our journey of Walker Acres, and we look
in our living room to be.
Yes. Thanks for joining us in our living room. Come back for more. Ready to do our Walker Acres? Because I'm gonna say we're gonna say welcome to Walker Acres. I'm Jackie.
We already said it.
That was a practice.
I know, but it probably works.
We're gonna say welcome to Walker Acres. I'm Jackie.
Oh, and I'm Linda.
Welcome to Walker Acres. I'm Jackie, the daughter. I'm sorry.
See, you didn't say you were going to say no daughter.
You ready?
No.
You ready? 1, 2, 3. Welcome to Walker Acres.